Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friends I make more money than her? I, 25 male, am married to my wife, Sasha, 28 female. She comes from a pretty wealthy background while I decidedly do not. My dad left before I was born and my mom died when I was 11. I've mostly gotten over it, as much as one can, get over something like that. However, I'm still sensitive on any so-called jokes on that. I graduated summa cum laude and went straight into investment banking. I met my wife when I was 23 and fresh into it, but after 3 years I earn pretty well. My wife is a lawyer. Now, I love my wife and she loves me, obviously, but her family hates me. Like from the depths of their souls, hates me. I've been called a gold digger, a lowlife, and a few more vague insults on my table manners. I went to a party with her the other day, one of those fancy schmancy things where everyone drinks champagne and complains about this, that, and the other, talking about, oh, we spent so much money on renovations, gasp. And I got the usual mild comments from wife's family and close friends on where my wife picked me up from. Lacey, I don't think, knew about my family history before. We were talking about dads, don't ask me why, and I got a question on what my dad did. I said I didn't know, never met the guy. Lacey made this kind of exaggerated gasp and went, "Ooh, well, we all know why you're with her, my wife then, don't we?" I acted all confused and she got flustered and just kept going with, "Well, you know." My wife tried to move the conversation along, but by this point I wasn't letting it go. I kept pushing and pushing until Lacey finally said, "Well, you two don't exactly have the same finances, do you?" And then responded with, "You're right. I make quite some more." Lacey by this point was too embarrassed to keep going. I'd kind of ruined the vibe, but the night continued. This isn't the kind of event you walk away from. We went home, which was when shit genuinely went down. She told me it was crazy of me to keep pushing on that point and turn one comment into one of the most embarrassing moments of her life. And now everyone in her circle must think she's some kind of failure to earn so much less than her husband, and I'd ruined everything. But it's not like I lied. I'm just tired of being treated like shit in her circle. My wife is upset though, and I do care about her, so I need to know, am I the a-hole?
Now everyone in her circle must think she's some kind of failure to earn so much less than her husband. But she was perfectly fine letting everyone in her life think you were a failure that lives off her. She is also apparently perfectly fine letting them mock or insult you, the man she allegedly loves. Why is her image more important than your dignity and the respect for your marriage? A person can earn less than their wealthy partner and still be with them out of love, and she is allowing for that to be questioned. Not the a-hole, both her and her circle sound vain, materialistic, and classist, and I'm afraid those traits are going to be hard to change.
Not the a-hole. First of all, your wife failed to stop this shit and just expected you to take it. She didn't speak up and say, "Hey, that's out of line," where you two could have just walked away. She wanted you to overlook being looked down upon because she felt looked down upon. She called that the most embarrassing moments of her life because she feels like a failure since you make more, which is wild considering what she expected you to endure.
Honestly, you're not the a-hole, but your wife is. If this is her circle, she should have stopped that Lacey immediately. People think that you're a gold digger because your wife lets them think about it. She's more worried about what people would think about her earnings than people talking bad about you.
Not the a-hole. Good of you to stand up for yourself. Everyone seems to have it in their heads that you're with her for her money. I'm curious why your wife was allowing this disrespect to continue. I'm also curious why she's worried her circle will think of her as a failure for earning less than you. So I guess she's okay with them thinking you earn less than her? Now I'm wondering if she loved it when friends and family thought she earned more. What kind of relationship is this? As a married woman, I would never stand by and allow my husband to be disrespected by my family or friends. I'm still stuck on the statement, people will think I'm a failure for earning less than you. Both of you need to sit and talk about this constant disrespect and her feelings on the matter. It shouldn't matter who earns more or less. But why is she worried if others know she earns less? Are you inferior to her in some way?
Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they need to find an alternative solution for long-term care for my disabled siblings because I will not be the solution? I, 19 male, have two older siblings who were both born with severe disabilities. Their disabilities are related to an inheritable gene that both my parents were carriers of, hence both of them having these disabilities. They had me so their disabled children would have someone to take care of them when they were gone. It was a gamble. I could have been disabled like my siblings and had an even higher chance at also being a carrier for the gene. My parents didn't look into that. They initially planned to adopt, but they were rejected because of my siblings being disabled, and it was decided they could not adequately care for another child on top of them. So they gave in and had me. Once they knew I wasn't disabled at birth, they no longer cared about my future because it was set in stone in their minds. I was raised to take over the care of both my siblings. I was taught what to do, how to do it, and my parents interfered in my success. They'd pull me out of school few enough times to cause trouble, but timed just right to throw me off and leave me behind at school. Their aim was for me to do badly enough to either drop out or not graduate high school, so then I wouldn't leave for college. But I worked my ass off to do the best I could. My grades weren't great graduating, but they were the best they could be given the circumstances. I actually only learned about my risk of being a carrier in my final 2 months of high school. My parents didn't care because they never planned for me to marry or have kids, because again, I was supposed to be a carer the rest of my life. I moved out of my parents' house after high school, and I'm in college now. My parents hate it. I'm mostly estranged and have not told them yet, but I got checked for the gene because I always wanted kids, but I knew I didn't want to risk having children with the same disabilities as my siblings. I'm not a carrier, which is rare apparently, but such a relief. But it made me more angry at my parents for not caring. They leave voicemails pretty frequently, shaming me for going to college and moving away and not supporting them or my siblings. They talked about how out of practice I will be. So I decided to call them, and over the phone, I told them I was not coming back and that they need to find an alternative solution for long-term care for my siblings because I won't be the solution. I won't sacrifice the rest of my life to care for them. My parents told me that was disgusting to say, and I should love my siblings more than enough to care for them, especially when they are the highest risk adults. Am I the a-hole?
Not the a-hole block their numbers or change yours and go out and live your life. Your siblings are not your problem or responsibility. Your parents are the ones sick in their head for having you solely as a slave to their other kids.
Not the a-hole. You don't owe it to your parents nor your siblings to throw away your future for the sake of caring for them. It's a difficult situation and a sad one, but you have only one life and you should live it the way you see fit. If your parents have been aware of being carriers for the gene after their first child, it has been incredibly reckless and irresponsible of them to have more children.
My siblings are very close in age, less than a year apart, so I think they found out while my mom was pregnant with their second child, but they knew the risk early. Then, when they had two, they wanted a healthy kid to take care of them, and they got lucky with me, or they thought they did.
Not the a-hole. The only disgusting people in this scenario are your parents. Whatever you do, don't get pulled back in by them.
Not the a-hole. Parents like yours seem to forget that you are your own person, not just some tool to do their bidding. It's not on you to care for the children that they had before you, especially when they knew that there was a risk involved. And the fact that they were going to adopt someone just so that they could spend their lives taking care of someone else, it speaks volumes for how selfish your parents truly are.
Not the a-hole at all. Forgive the crassness of this comment, but they could have saved every dollar they spent raising you to invest or pay for insurance so that when they pass, there's a plan to care for your siblings. They figured birthing a slave would be cheaper. You are a person, not a plan. They owed you support, barely provided that, and sabotaged you along the way. You don't owe them or your siblings anything. You are entitled to your own existence and are not required to shoulder their burdens.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.